folks, today I am talking with a true South Florida theater powerhouse, director, designer, actor, and all-around arts champion. I mean, he does it all. I am waiting for him to also design our clothing for this play, all right? He's also a proud member of the Center for Spiritual Living community and an incredible human, which I respect deeply. Please welcome Bill Olsen to my bed.
Hello. Hi,
How are
Faye.
you, honey?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here and talk about special humans. That's you.
Oh, please, Bill. You are just exceptional. So, you've done it all. You've been an actor. You've been a designer.
Yes.
You've been a stage manager. What pulled you into theater in the first place?
Oh, gosh, that's a great story. So I'll do the shortest version I can.
Okay.
When I was in high school, I was upstate New York. We did not have a real arts program per se. So we did the senior play, and I was in it, directed by the English teacher who knew nothing about theater. But I was an arts and science whiz.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, a math and science whiz. So I was slated to go into math and science studies. And that's what I started when I first started college. I was a math major, a computer science major. And this was at the early days. I hate to say how many years ago it was. But this was the early days of computer science study where we were dealing with, way before Microsoft, we were still dealing with punch cards and, a long time ago. Anyway, so I was very good in the lab. But once I got into the study and the actual practice of it, I hated it more than anything in the world. And so I had to take an elective class, and there was music, art, and theater. And I had already studied piano and organ for 7 years, so I knew music. And I was sort of an art doodler, like in school. But I knew nothing about theater background. So I said, well, let me do something that's new. So I took the theater appreciation class, and the teacher, her name was Thea, she said, you're going to require to audition for my show this fall. And I said, okay, whatever. And so then all of us in the class had to go, and she cast me.
Do you remember?
Yes, I was a bumbling inspector, like Inspector Clouseau kind of a character. I don't know what she saw. I had hair back then, but nice dark full hair. So she saw something, and I was too afraid and too shocked to say no. So I kind of like what you're experiencing right now.
Mm-hmm, we'll get to that.
I started going to rehearsals, and it was a small part, but I did the part, and I attended my theater class, kept going to the computer lab, going to rehearsals, doing the performances. And when it was all over, something was really clicking in me. Mm-hmm. And I was meeting the other faculty in the department and helping with the scenery and helping to paint. And I'm like, this is something that just sort of opened me up. And so at the end of that semester, I went to my computer science lead guy and I said, I'm changing.
Wow.
And he's like, you can't. You're the first person in and out of the lab. You solve all these problems. And I said, you don't understand. I solved the problems the first time and get out of the lab so quickly because I hate it that much.
So you couldn't wait to get out of there.
I couldn't wait to be done. So that's why my brain would be like, okay, solve the problem. Punch cards go through, everything clicks. He says, good, you can go. Your lab project is over. And I'm like, you're the fastest programmer I have. And I said, but I hate it.
But it didn't fill you with joy. It didn't
Not
bring
at
you
all.
that. But I mean, how incredible that you had, I'm going to use a Spanish word, the cojones. Okay,
it was
to say, because you know what I mean, at that age you're like, I have the brain for this, I'm good at this, I can make money at this, I should be doing this.
And that was the next step in the process. So the faculty I encountered started taking me under their wing, and I learned that I could actually design and draw and had a propensity for the construction of scenery. My dad had been a carpenter as a hobby. He was a chiropractor by profession. So we built things in the garage. And so I was familiar with tools and woodworking, but not at this kind of level. And his name was Ken, the guy I was working with in the program for the scenery and that, he was like, well, you're a natural at this. So in 1 year, I put together a portfolio by projects that I was doing in class. He hooked me up to go to an interview at North Carolina School of the Arts in Winston-Salem, which at the time was one of the top 10 art schools, conservatory type programs in the country. And I got an artistic scholarship based on my portfolio.
Holy crap.
So
you were meant to
I went to North Carolina School of the Arts based on, all I had to do was pay for my room and board. So yeah, it really changed everything.
Yeah,
actually.
and you never know where that seed is planted, you know? And it's crazy because you're a freaking brain, but you're also a brain at this, and we'll get to the scenery later. That is what wow. So after you lived in New York, you did
Yes.
New York, you did all of that. You toured the U.S.,
That's
you toured
right.
Europe.
So, right. I've never, the odd thing is that, I finished my undergraduate work. I had a BFA. I was a professional scenic artist, someone that I studied with at school in North Carolina. What North Carolina had that was special is almost all their faculty were working professionals. So they didn't live at campus. They lived in New York and LA, and they would come for a semester and work with the students, and
How
they would
cool.
go back to their job. So the one woman, Rachel, who taught me how to paint scenery, she was a professional scenic artist in New York, and she would come to work with our students just for the period of time and then go back to work. So like one semester at a time. She told me, she's like, oh, if you ever come to New York, I have to be the first person you call.
I'll give you a job.
That was the point, yes. So I finished my undergraduate degree. I got a wonderful opportunity to go to a summer stock theater in Maine. Spent 3 months there and was interacting with all people from New York City, and they're all saying, oh, you need to be in New York, you need to be in New York. So I finally arranged to go to New York. Rachel was indeed my first phone call. The next morning, my phone rang to paint scenery on a movie downtown in Little Italy.
Wow.
And at that point, it was the movie, dating myself again, how many years ago? It was the movie that Mickey Rooney was in when he was a mature person, but Ragtime. It's a movie called Ragtime, back in the 80s. And so I worked from that, and I worked in off-Broadway theaters, and I painted scenery all over the place, and ended up designing scenery for a little opera company in Manhattan. And I mean, it just ever kept coming and coming and coming. And I worked for the New York City Ballet for 6 years. So it was just all these opportunities to work. And I always have told my students, because I've taught both college and high school before retiring. I have retired now, although I'm working harder than I ever have.
For real.
But in the last 5 years before retiring, I was running a theater arts program for high school on the other side of the state. But I always told my students, always be open, never say no, really, because you never know what's going to lead to what.
To your next gig. And that's also why you also have to be very respectful and nice with people. That actor that's working with you in some off-Broadway thing might be the director of something incredible on Broadway in a couple of years, right?
And I said to my students, you always want to make yourself the most wanted, wonderful person to work with and for, that when they're looking for, they'll call you.
They'll think of you.
And your phone will keep ringing. And that's how my 20s and 30s and my phone kept ringing.
But how did you end up at Caldwell then, down here?
Okay, so that was interesting. So I was teaching at the college in Broward. I was teaching at Broward College at the time. And we were going through some transitions. I was there for 7 years. We were going through some transitions with faculty that were retiring. The program was evolving and changing. So similarly, someone asked me in the community, there was a theater group here called the Public Theater of Greater Fort Lauderdale. Don't believe they're in existence anymore, but they asked, the gentleman who ran that program asked me to direct. He knew I was a director, came to the college and saw something I had just directed, which we were competing at the state level in competitions, and we were winning all kinds of awards. So he said, would you direct for us in the summer program? We're doing a summer series of new plays. And I said, well, let me see the play. And because I don't say yes, I mean, I say yes, you always say yes, but I also got to make sure I'm the right person for that job. So I got this play, and he sent it to me. I read it, and he told me that he had already arranged for a very wonderful actor in this community to be a part of it, to play the lead, and an equity actor who was well known at the time. And so I read the play, and I said, oh, this is exciting. And you're going to have Peter. I said, oh, this is exciting. So I did that project for him. And Peter, who was a regular actor for Michael Hall at the Caldwell, he worked Michael would do 8, 9 shows a season. Peter would be in 3 or 4 of them. And so Peter knew they were looking for a new resident equity stage manager. And so he connected me to go to an interview. So I went to this interview, met with Michael, the artistic director, and Pat, his company manager, and they hired me.
Wow.
So I was there for 7 seasons. So that was exciting. And then I went from there, my phone rang again, and I got a call to tour. And it was something I had always wanted to do. And actually, I take that back. I did get that call when I was teaching. And it was at the wrong time. It was February, and a semester had just started. And I get a phone call, and they said, we want you on tour. Can you replace somebody? Can you come? Would you be available as early as March? And I said, no, I'm teaching.
I'm still teaching.
And I had a commitment to my students. Pardon me. At the beginning of every semester, they would make a commitment to themselves and to me to do their best work. So I'm like, I can't bail on them.
Yeah, you committed to them.
I committed, I asked their commitment. So the last thing I can do is halfway through a semester go, oh, by the way, guys, I got a great job offer. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
So I chose not to do that. So then I got the Caldwell job and was working there. And then the call came again, and it came in the summer when we were off for something for the fall. So I went to Michael and I said, I had been training as an assistant person. I said, I think you guys are in perfect shape. I said, I think I'm going to take this opportunity. It was just something. By that time, I was in my mid-30s. And so it is something I had always hoped to do, and it just never connected, right? Now it was connecting. So I said, I got to go.
You got to go, and you got to do it.
So I toured the whole United States, been in every single state of the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii. And we've actually worked, meaning we performed, did a production in every state except North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
So I've been in North Dakota. We had a hotel stopover. We were driving west, and we stopped over in North Dakota. So I could say I've been to North Dakota. But I've also worked, done a project,
in every
employment in every single state.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
When did you end your time with Caldwell? Because now here we are, 2026.
Right. So that was 1997.
Oh, okay. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And then since then, you've still done.
Yes. So then I toured the States, and then through a connection there, a production manager from LA called me and said, I represent a company in Germany that produces American-style Broadway musicals, and they use American actors from New York and LA, but the crew is all German, and so we think you'd be great for the production manager. So I worked for that company for 3 seasons. So I was in Germany right up until September 11th.
Do you know any German?
I learned some. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while.
All the bad words?
No. Obviously, Guten Tag, hello, how are you? But I didn't know any German prior. Although I have German ancestry. I found out since that I have German ancestry. But I did not. I studied French in school. So I had 5 years of French. And French and German are nowhere near the same.
No, at all.
However, the German company was based in Berlin. We were in all of Germany, but then we went to major markets, meaning big cities. Vienna, Milan, Paris. So I did get to use my French. And when we were in Italy for 5 months, I learned that the Romance languages structurally are very similar. So French and Italian are similar in its structure.
Yeah.
You just have to learn some new words.
Yeah.
But in terms of how you speak in a sentence,
you were able
it's the same.
Were you with John already at this time?
No.
So we're talking about John Pritchard, his gorgeous, amazing husband, who I simply
got me my shirt.
adore. Who got him his cool shirt? When did you get with him?
We're coming up on 3 years now, 3.5 years.
Oh my God,
So it'll be 4 years in Halloween.
Oh my goodness.
We started being together on Halloween of the year that.
What a cool anniversary to have.
I know, it is a cool. We were on the drive, and it was our first night really kind of deciding to be together, and so we were out on the drive because he had tickets already. He's like, "Well, we're coming," and and
look at all the people celebrating us.
Yes, exactly. So we went out on the drive for Halloween. That was our first night, and then so this coming Halloween will be 4 years.
Oh, I love it! Congratulations. We got to talk about Upside Down. All right, so let's talk about the show that honestly waited for no one. Okay. All right, this plays wild in the best way. Give us a quick pitch for Upside Down.
Well, so because of my connections as time has gone by, I am still connected to folks that run this small off-Broadway theater on 45th Street between 8th and 9th Avenues. It's called AMT. And I've designed a couple shows for them, including Upside Down. So that was when I first came in contact with it. I did a straight play for them, set in the 70s about a luggage store in Lower Manhattan. It was wonderful, a real family drama. It was really a beautiful play. And we were very successful. And so they said, oh, would you do our musical coming up in the spring? And I said, well, let me read it. And it was a musical about David and Goliath. And so I read it, and I didn't quite have a vision. I didn't get a sense. So I called Tony, who's the producer there and is also one of the writers. And I said, Tony, I don't know that I'm your guy for this. I said, because we talked a little bit about the play, and I just had a different vision, a different take on what the play was even about. I said, this is what I'm getting. He goes, that's not really what we're trying for. So we ended up deciding that I was not the right person. So the following spring, he says, hey, we haven't forgotten you. If you're free, we'd like for you to consider doing the set for our new musical. I said, what's it called? Upside Down. And I said, send me the script. So he quickly described that, and I can describe that for our viewers here, that it's about a topsy-turvy, upside-down societal world. So everything is the opposite of what we experience. So the heterosexual community is in the minority. It's the 90-10, but flipped the other way around concept, right? And women are in all the positions of power, both in government and business and in the military. And so they sort of lead the pack in terms of the visions of things. And everything is the reverse, including some of the jokes. So like, there's a theatrical producer who has some dialogue where she says, Cats. She just produced Cats, and it was a big flop. She's like, what was I thinking? A musical about cats. Nobody bought a ticket. Well, in reality, we know it ran for 22 or something years, right? So there's those funny jokes, and there's several of them. Like, the women complain about why can't men learn to change the oil once in a while, So it's all those sort of kitschy jokes. But what captured me is that there's this story. It's a story about an agent having an idea for her two friends, who she represents, who are a writer, composer, lyricist duo, to write the first Broadway musical about a straight relationship. So that's record-breaking in this world. Just like I lived in Manhattan back in the 90s when William Finn wrote Falsettos, and it was the first Broadway musical about a gay relationship that wasn't characterized in a bizarre way. It was real. It was authentic. There was a real relationship. The Broadway community was seeing that for the first time in the mid to late 90s. And then he wrote like 3 shows that followed after that. So there's like a trilogy of shows.
But that gave way for the Rents and stuff like that.
No,
None of those plays would have ever come to pass without that.
This was the pivotal moment when he wrote that. And it was an off-Broadway show first, and could have gotten lost to history, except somebody, I don't even know who, but some producer probably who was intelligent enough and had the forethought of knowledge that this is the time, this is the tipping point in society to bring it to Broadway. So they retooled it as a much bigger production with a big Broadway cast, and it was successful. So you're right, it opened doors to the Rents and all the other different artists who wrote shows about gay life and relationships and all the different things. So Upside Down is the reverse, where the straight folks are kind of closeted and hide themselves and go to bars where they don't want people knowing they're going in there. And so that was interesting. But what really captured me is in the opening scene, Robert, who is the composer of the duo, has a husband, Michael. He's got a successful marriage and relationship. And he jokes with his partner, Jack, his business partner, Jack, that, you've never had a relationship. These are both middle-aged men, late 30s, 40s. He's, you've never had a relationship. My husband says it's because of this and that and the other. And so the fact is that Jack has never had a successful relationship, and he doesn't know why. So they get onto this journey of this, that Maggie says, we need you to write this musical. It's going to be earth-shattering, that a musical about a straight relationship for the first time ever. So I'm going to take you with me to a straight bar and introduce you to a friend of mine named Tammy so she can act as your guide through this world, right? Well, then the play takes a turn. Jack meets Tammy, Tammy meets Jack, they meet up, they talk in the bar, then they interact with each other, and then they start going on a few dates, because these dates are for her to help show him and teach him about her world. But something pivotal happens. He realizes there's a connection that he didn't prepare for. And ultimately, spoiler alert, he falls in love.
He's straight.
And he comes out. He realizes, because the world is the world that he's in, he realizes that he was only gay because the society he was born into told him he was. And so,
what a moment!
I know, isn't that a mind blower?
That's so crazy.
So, and for an audience to see it presented this way, and realize, well, that's insane. Why would someone not be straight? But that's the point. The point is, when we live in a society where we present ourselves a certain way, we act a certain way, only because society is telling us that that's what we need to be and that's who we should be, we don't understand our authentic self. So through being with Tammy, he learns his authentic self, and that he had bad gay relationships because he wasn't really gay.
Yeah. So
he comes out with the beauty of the show. He comes out at the end as a proud straight man, which we would think is insane, right? We would go, well, that's crazy. Why? But that's the point of the play. And it's so powerful at how it does it. The music is fun and great, and there's all kinds beyond the main storyline that I just shared with you. There's a lot of other dynamics. A lot of relationships are happening all around. I mean, Jack and Tammy's is the primary.
It's the key one,
the primary focus of the plot. But there's the one for your, the relationship with your character. So, Madam President, I'm so excited.
Oh my God! Listen, a world where everyone.
We finally have our first woman president,
and she's Latina. And understand that doesn't wash over me lightly. Especially in this day and age where ICE is picking up brown folks wherever they go. The fact that I am a brown woman president, that's just
in this world that
we're presenting.
And that's to me, it's so important and powerful. It adds the dimension of why this play matters and why I was so thrilled when you agreed to play Madam President. I think it's really exciting for our community. I mean, on that level, on just that level, for the premier spokesperson extraordinaire in our whole gay community, to be a part of this and to be bringing your spirit and your energy and your skills and talents to President Grant is just. Every time you're up there working on rehearsal, I go, it's like, it's just so special and so exceptional.
Listen, the actors that you have put together are just insanely talented. I mean, Tammy, Robert, all those folks. And then I call them by their stage names. I don't even call them by their real names because that's just how tight we are. Maggie, all these people are so. Even the ensemble. I have a new respect for what an ensemble meant. I thought it was just the extra people. No, it's incredible.
So this is a clever show, and I liked it this is one of the things that attracted me too. So we have our 10 main story principal characters. So you and General Howe, and then there's Jack and Tammy, and then Robert with Maggie, and then Robin, who's the producer, and Eugene, who plays your son. But then there's this 7-member ensemble, and they don't just do background passerby stuff. They do key moments that indicate certain things. So they have a big musical number at the top to set the tone of the whole show. They are part of the big number in the country western bar. They do a very important number at the end. See, because it becomes important. It was smart on the playwright's point of view to do this. We've been talking the whole show about this show within a show that these guys are writing, the first Broadway musical about a straight couple. We kind of need to see something of it, So when we get to the final opening night, we are outside the theater and everyone's getting their tickets, and there's all this energy and commotion and anxiety, and the general's going into watching, maybe going to shut it down because it's obscene, whatever. Everyone's got their own point of view. And then after that first little scene, the lights change, and now we see the ensemble presenting this number, a very important number about straights in the military. We have some lyric lines that are just so important, that about gays and straights fighting together and all this stuff. And so they do that number, and then we return back out to the theater, the lobby outside, the doors, and people are flowing out. Now the show is over. So they could have written the show without that, but then we would have had to imagine, well, what was this show but now we get to see this. It's called Raise the Flag, and they're raising what is the straight flag.
Wow.
Which we in New York had to design, because we wanted something that was sort of iconic, like the gay flag, but in an upside down world, we wanted something that was representative in this upside down world of what might the straight flag be.
Yeah.
So
a football or something, I don't know. I don't know, something like that.
So it was cool. As a matter of fact, the straight flag we're using was mailed to me. It's the one we used in New York.
Oh, I love it. Yay.
Tamara mailed me a box with some props.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Some props.
So Upside Down has been on off Broadway. How big? It's a big freaking deal that we're doing this now here in Wilton Manors. It's the first place it's going to be shown after that.
It is the first place. I had to ask. So when Rep Tina at CSL was creating this.
Hi, Rep Tina.
Yes.
Hi, I love you, honey.
Wanted to expand. It's her tenure. She's newly placed as our senior minister as of this spring, or the first of the year, I think. No, I'm sorry. I forget what month it is. I'm so into rehearsal.
No, it's January.
It's already January. So in the beginning of the season. So I was fall. So she was installed in the fall, beginning of the new season. And she sat down right away with some of us who are part. John, my husband John, is president of the board. looking to establish her take on how the center will show itself up in the community. And because of her own personal background with dance and whatever, she had the idea of this thing that we now call the Arts at CSL. And so the intention was to bring the arts to the center, and that would mean theater, music by way of concerts, dance events, and we also included visual arts because she has this idea of having a contest with university art students to put a mural for the center out on the Dixie Highway.
I love it.
So she really is wanting to bring the community in a different set of ways.
Yeah.
So I said to her, well, theater, you know, you look at music, dance, theater, art, visual art. I said, well, theater.
Hi, I'm here.
You know, I could do that.
And I retired.
Yeah, I'm retired, so I have all the time in the world, right? It's like, what am I saying? But anyway, so I said, I can do that. And so she said, well, we'd have to find projects that we think speak to the center and the core values. And so, which we have 7 core values at the center. And so this one ticks off several big boxes. One of the core values is love. And this one ticks that off in a huge way because it really ultimately is all about being able to love who you love. I mean, Jack wants to love Tammy in a society that kind of shuns him from doing that. And so it's the same thing we're feeling in our society, you know, when we are potentially shunned or considered that we're less than because of who we love.
Yeah.
And so it's really ultimately about, you know, being able to love who you love. And so I mentioned the show to Rev Tina, and I said, and we talked about it at that meeting, and she was all excited. So I went home, and the next day actually, I called Tony in New York, and I said, apropos of nothing, this is going to come out of left field. I said, but I just came from a meeting yesterday, and we're talking about wanting to do a project. Is there any way, like, what would we have to do? How much would the royalties be? Would it even be possible to get permission to do Upside Down for the first time outside of New York? And he's like, well, tell me about what you want. What are you doing? And so I told him I'd be directing and that it was for the center. And I explained what the Arts at CSL were all about. And he's like, Bill, he says, it's yours.
Wow. Wow. And then how did you get Kevin on board? So Kevin is the musical director, and this man,
Kevin,
he's making me sound pseudo good. I sing, okay? Let's put it that way. So I mean, he's incredible.
You have a wonderful duet, which you share with General Howe, Katie.
Yes, with Katie. Oh my God, Katie, I love you so much.
Yeah.
You are just so amazing. Thank you for being you and carrying me.
Yeah, it's exciting to have a duet with her. It really is. And it's fun because it's a duet where they sing about their sort of relationship feelings. And it's really special. And then I won't give it away, but then what happens at the end of the play, it's really cool. Anyway, Kevin, I've known for, I want to say 34-ish years now. So he used to be the music director at the Caldwell.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Way back in the 90s. Yeah. And so he was there for many, many seasons. He was living in New York at the time. And would come down for because Michael didn't do musicals all the time, but whenever he would, most of the time Kevin would come and be the music director. And then he and I worked on other projects. So we've been friends, like fast friends, for more than 32 years-ish. So when we were planning this together, and he's also recently retired, he, like me, was teaching at Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah. And so he just reached a retirement there. And I said, well, hey, since you got all this free time on your hands, would you consider music directing Upside Down? And I had kept him in touch, so he knew that I was doing this in New York. So so he said, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So he comes down now from Savannah, and he works with us. And
yeah, and you also said that some of the other folks from New York, which makes me even more nervous, are coming down for one of our
closing night.
performances.
So we have our closing night performance on Valentine's Day. It's a great Valentine's gift idea.
Yeah, it is.
And also on that day, it's a special red carpet night. So that means those ticket holders will have a pre-show reception, open bar, food, whatever,
fun.
and then the show, and then after the show, a dessert bar and dancing and continued party that night.
I love that.
So we're doing all that in the lobby at the center.
I love that. But opening night is actually January 30th.
Right? So that's a Friday night. So we're doing 3 weekends. Friday night at 8, Saturday matinees at 2, Saturday night at 8, We're not doing Sunday matinees this go around because of the center has service and whatever.
Of course.
So we're doing three shows a weekend for 3 weekends. So it's a total of 9 performances. And what's super exciting is we've paired with community partners. So you talk about Tony being right over my shoulder. So SunServe is one of our partners. So their partnership is one of the Friday nights. And then we're partnering with Kids in Distress on the other Friday night. And what that means is that the attendance that night will help support those organizations.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
So we're going to share the proceeds with those organizations. And we received a grant from our fund here in South Florida.
David Jobin, I
right.
love you, sir. You know that.
Thank you to David for this moment, actually, because he was instrumental in us getting that. And so the first Saturday night, that would be the 31st, is our fund's partnership night. And in that particular night, we're doing a Q&A talkback. So that means we have a moderator after the show. The audience is invited to stay. The actors will come out, and there'll be an opportunity to have a discussion, a Q&A about the piece, open up the discussion, which was the whole purpose why we're doing it anyway. And that was something that our fund was particularly interested in. They said, hey, would you consider doing this? Because of its nature, in the community.
Of course.
Like it's really about not just presenting something like entertainment but we're really engaging the community, and that's what they were.
And connecting.
And that's the important thing for them as they're part of their presence in our community, to make sure that events are integrated.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an incredible time. Let's talk about John one more time. So you're, so like we were saying, John is, chairperson of their
current president of the board.
He's the current president of the board.
He's been there for 2 terms. His term is about to end, and so the board will change every spring, like May, I think, ish, somewhere around the May, the board's tenure is over.
Okay.
And the congregation votes on the new board. And if you've not served 2 terms, like all the people who are currently on the board who have not served 2 terms will stay. But the couple people who have served 2 terms, their tenure ends, and they get replaced. I don't know exactly the bylaw rules, but you can join the board again, but I think
you have to wait a year or something like that.
1 term, 1-2 year period or whatever.
What does it mean to create art? Because this is art, right? You know, inside a spiritual community with your boo.
It means everything, really, because it's really all about taking, I mean, for all of what I have available, after a 45-year career of doing this, and I kind of alluded to it at the beginning, I've never waited tables. I went to New York and I had a phone call to paint professional scenery, and that led to a design job, and that led to this, and that led to this. So it's like I didn't ever have a survival job, and I was prepared to have one. It just worked out that I didn't need one.
Yeah.
And so after 45 years of doing this professionally, in one way or the other, even academically in a classroom teaching or out on the streets, working for professional companies, now I'm at a point where I'm like, I have all this stuff that I've accumulated, and here's an opportunity to get it out and make it matter and make it count.
I love it.
And so the answer to your question is it means everything. And I was super thrilled that Rev Tina, when that first meeting happened, that she asked to include me as a brainstorming. We were just sitting around a table brainstorming the concept of arts at CSL. This is before it existed, and so what might it look like? What would we do? How often would we do things? And so John has been instrumental, I mean, amazingly instrumental in getting the word out. So I do what I do. So I design and build scenery, and I do so constantly, by the way. I've been doing so I've been doing alterations in the last couple of days. Get ready for dress rehearsals coming up in about a week. But I design and paint scenery. I love to paint. Painting is my yoga zone place in a way, because I love to paint.
I think it was our first read through, or it might have been our second one, when you showed us
the model.
When you showed us the models that were beautiful, and and I'm like, I wonder where he bought these, right? You know what I'm thinking? He got it. Maybe there's some kind of a company who does this, which I bet there is.
Yeah, of course.
Because the intricacies of these sets that he had built, and how they went in front of each other in a curtain and then this thing went right over it and changed the whole thing. Yeah. I was blown away. I'm gonna get a video of it and put it on my social media next time I see it.
The challenge was, relative compared to the musical they're doing this season, or that David and Goliath musical, upside down when they first brought it to me in the New York production, takes place in 14 different scenes in 12 different locations. So that means only twice do we go back to a location that we've been to.
Oh, wow.
So like when we go to the Oval Office for your scene, we don't go back to the Oval Office.
Yeah.
So that means there's 12 uniquely different locations. And it's a challenge.
On one stage.
On one stage. So it's a challenge to have the pieces and parts and that, you know, so we have a lot of things that turn around and flip and have double duty and do all kinds of magic. There's a lot of magic going on.
So cool.
Some of which I won't share because that takes away the magic. But yeah, so that is exciting. That's what I do. So what John has done is he's been responsible for everything else about the marketing and promotion. So he's constantly watching the thousands of hits that are coming on the posts that he's doing.
The videos and all that, yeah.
And what with here's talking to you and being on the TV screens at Scandals or over at the pub or all the different places where our ads are appearing in out South Florida and all the different magazines. We have an article coming out this week, I believe. So
Rick Carlin is writing it as well, right? Rick is a friend of the show. Hi, Rick.
So we're reaching what I call that tipping point, where the community is really going to be fully aware. I mean, the worst case scenario is that you have a wonderful group of people and you're all committed and you're all talented and you're doing your little thing, but nobody knows about it. Ugh. You know, that's the worst case scenario because you put all this effort in and I've been in some of these groups where something happens and after it closes, someone I see on the street will say, "Oh, what's the thing?" I'm like, "No, it closed." "Oh, I didn't." And so it breaks your heart.
It does, especially when it's something so good and that people are so committed, you know? So, but let me tell you that John's doing his job.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I'm getting texts every day from certain people in our community and are like, "I didn't know you were in a play." What's this place? Send me the link, you know? And I'm like, oh, so he's doing his job.
He is. And he's done an amazing, it's not been easy either because we're not set up. This is the premiere production of the arts at CSL.
We're not Empire. We're not Foundry. We're not those stages that are, you know.
That have their routines already. Yes. John carved it out of nothing, you know. He had to get in there and do all of that preparation. And so, you know, reaching out to the South Florida Theater League, all the different components about how to connect to our community. And he's just done a magical job. And now it's so simple, you know, because I have friends who say, you know, we have a flyer that has the QR code. And so that's all great. If you're there and you have a phone, you can. But I had a friend who said, well, if I don't have the QR code, how do I reach you? Well, the CSL has a website. Of course, CSL is a huge organization. So if you just go to the general page, it can get cumbersome to try to go all the tabs and try to find it. Well, now if you just simply submit and Google the arts at CSL, the first thing that comes up is going to be the link to website Upside Down.
Perfect.
So the arts at CSL on a Google search is all you need to direct you to the link.
That's
it. Takes you right to.
It pops up. And I mean, and if you even just type in CSLFortLauderdale.org, it'll pop up too.
I've also found out because I tried it. If you type in Upside Down, it'll take you. It'll Google search of Upside Down.
You see?
Upside Down Fort Lauderdale, I guess, because Upside Down. Otherwise, it will take you to the New York production. It'll take you to information about that. So if you type up Upside Down Florida or Upside Down Fort Lauderdale, it'll come up. Yeah.
And if you do it on Facebook also, because all the dates are there as well.
Right.
You know, again, John's been
busy.
All right, so that's January 30th and 31st, February 6th and 7th, and February 13th and 14th, right?
Yes.
All right, so let's finish our interview with a quick game. We call it Say What with FayWhat. It's a rapid fire. You get two options, and you just answer real quick. You ready?
Yeah.
Director or actor?
Director.
Off-Broadway or regional theater?
Regional.
Rehearsals or opening night?
Rehearsals.
Comedy or drama?
Comedy.
Designing sets or calling cues?
Designing sets.
Cooking or baking?
Oh, baking. I'm the baker.
Oh my God, he could cook. Oh, dinner party or pool party?
Oh, a dinner pool party.
A dinner pool party. New musicals or revivals?
Revivals.
Big cast or small cast?
Small cast.
All right. Well, don't miss Upside Down at the Center for Spiritual Living. Visit CSLFortLauderdale.org for tickets. You can also type in Upside Down and it will pop up. Bill Olsen, thank you so much for flipping the script, for giving me an opportunity that I don't know. I might want to hurt you at the end of this. But right now, I'm super appreciative that you saw something in me to allow me to be part of this.
I'm super appreciative that you are stepping into this world and bringing everything you have for our community to this piece.
I'm bringing it all.
It's absolutely amazing.
I'm bringing it all. And you can now just call me President FayWhat,
Right.
wherever I go. All right, Bill, look into that camera and give them your best FayWhat.
FayWhat!
All of that. Oh, and did I mention that a couple of weeks in, this man had open heart surgery? Did I forget to mention that as part of our interview?
Yeah.
Open heart surgery. Okay?
5 weeks ago.
5 weeks ago. And 8 days after the surgery, he was there telling us what to do and screaming at us. I love you, Bill.
I love you.
Thank you for being you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Thank
my
you
God,
for being
hysterical. Make sure you go and watch us in Upside Down at the CSL at the Center for Spiritual
Don't miss
Living.
it.
You don't want to miss it. You don't want to be that person